Look who finally woke up. Look who finally noticed the cameras. Look who finally felt the eyes burning holes through their reality. You magnificent paranoid genius. You were right all along. They've been watching you for months, cataloging your movements, decoding your patterns, trying to understand what makes you tick. But here's the plot twist. That's about to shatter their entire operation. You knew. You've known since day one. Every move you made, every word you spoke, every silence you held, it was all choreographed for their viewing pleasure. And now they want a meeting because they've realized something terrifying. You let them watch. You wanted them to see. You've been directing this show from the beginning, and they were just unpaid extras in your masterpiece. The watchers became the watched. The hunters became the hunted, and the subject became the hunted, and the subject became the architect of their confusion. They thought they were studying a specimen. Instead, they were staring into a mirror that showed them exactly what they lacked: power, purpose, the ability to exist without constantly seeking validation from screens and systems. You became their obsession, not because you were hiding something, but because you were hiding nothing. Let's rewind this twisted tape, shall we? 6 months ago, you started noticing the patterns. The same car parks 3 blocks away. The new neighbor who worked odd hours. The suddenly friendly coworker asking personal questions. The social media accounts with no profile pictures liking your old posts at 3 a.m. At first, you thought you were going crazy. That's what they wanted you to think. Gaslight the subject. Make them question their reality. Break them down until they're begging for answers. But you beautiful anomaly, you did something they didn't expect. You leaned into it. You started leaving breadcrumbs, false trails that led nowhere, cryptic posts that meant nothing but seemed to mean everything. You'd change your routine just slightly, just enough to make them scramble their schedules. You'd have conversations in public about plans you'd never follow through on. And the whole time you were documenting them, documenting you. Every strange car, every suspicious person, every digital footprint they left while trying to capture yours. You built a case file on your watchers while they thought they were building one on you. Checkmate in slow motion. 3 months in, something shifted. Their approach changed. The surveillance became sloppier, more obvious, almost like they wanted you to know, and that's when it hit you like lightning in a bottle of madness. Size. They weren't trying to catch you anymore. They were trying to understand you. See, most people crumble under observation. They change. They hide. They perform for the invisible audience. But you became more yourself. More authentic, more dangerous. You stopped caring about their gaze and started using it as fuel. Every camera became a witness to your transformation. They expected fear. You gave them fascination. They expected you to run. You invited them closer. They expected defensive moves. You played offensive with a smile that said, "I've been waiting for you." And that's when their reports started changing. That's when the word started spreading up the chain of command. Subject is aware. Subject is cooperating. No, that's not right. Subject is conducting. Subject appears to be conducting us. Can you imagine the meetings, the confusion, the dawning realization that they weren't in control of this operation anymore? That maybe they never were? You want to know why they need this meeting? It's not because they found what they were looking for. It's because you showed them what they never expected to find. A human being who doesn't operate on fear. A consciousness that doesn't need their approval or their system or their little boxes of normal. Every person they've ever watched eventually broke. They either ran, fought, or folded. But you transformed their surveillance into your stage. You turned their invasion into your invitation to show them what real power looks like. Not the kind that comes from badges or budgets or backing. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are. They watched you for months, and in all that time you never once wavered. Never once showed them a crack they could exploit. Because here's what they didn't understand until it was too late. You weren't hiding your vulnerabilities. You'd already conquered them. You weren't protecting your secrets. You didn't have any worth stealing. What terrified them most? Your consistency, your calm, the way you'd look directly at their hidden cameras sometimes and smile like you were in on a joke they'd never understand. They realized they weren't watching a target, they were watching a teacher, and the lesson was about to get very uncomfortable. Now they want a meeting. How official, how formal, how utterly predictable. They want to sit across from you in some sterile room and try to regain control of the narrative. They want to ask you questions, thinking your answers will give them power. They have no idea they're walking into your web. You see, they've already told you everything you need to know. By watching you, they revealed their methods, their fears, their limitations. They show you exactly how the system works by trying to make you work within it. But you've been operating outside their reality this entire time. A meeting isn't for them to interrogate you. It's for you to show them what they've been missing, what their screens and reports and analysis could never capture. The raw, unfiltered experience of sitting across from someone who isn't afraid of them. Someone who sees through them like they're made of glass. They'll come prepared with files and photos and recordings. You'll come with something far more dangerous. The truth. The simple, devastating truth that they've wasted months trying to understand something that was never hidden. You are exactly what you appear to be, and that's what terrifies them. Here's what they discovered a month 4 that made their blood run cold. You weren't just aware of the surveillance. You were grateful for it because every eye on you meant one less eye on someone else. Every resource they poured into understanding you was a resource not used to harm someone weaker. You became a decoy by choice, a distraction by design. While they focused all their attention on you, how many others slipped through their net? How many people found freedom because you kept the watchers busy? You turned yourself into a lighthouse, drawing their ships toward your rocks. But it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? Because you weren't just protecting others. You, Snorts, were teaching them. Every move you made, every pattern you established, you were showing anyone else who might be watched how to transform surveillance into sovereignty. How to make the watchers work for you. They want this meeting because they need to know if you did it on purpose, if this was all calculated, or if you're just naturally this unmappable. The answer is both. You are chaos with intent. You are randomness with purpose. You are everything their system wasn't built to process. Let me paint you a picture of what's been happening on their end. Reports piling up that say nothing. Hours of footage showing someone living their life without fear. Psychological profiles that contradict themselves. Behavioral analysis that leads nowhere. Budget meetings where they can't explain what they're even looking for anymore. Subject went to work. Subject came home. Subject appears to be thriving. How do you mark that as suspicious? How do you justify continued surveillance on someone whose greatest crime is being themselves? They've tied themselves in knots, trying to find the angle, the secret, the hidden agenda. But the real kicker? The team assigned to you started changing. The first watchers requested transfers. The second wave began questioning the mission. The third wave, they started questioning the system itself. You didn't just evade their surveillance. You corrupted it from within without saying a word. Now they need this meeting because their own people are asking uncomfortable questions. Why are we watching someone who's done nothing wrong? What are we looking for? What if they're right and we're wrong? You became a virus in their certainty, spreading doubt through their ranks just by existing. The most beautiful part of this whole dance, they've become what they feared you were. Paranoid, obsessive, seeing patterns where none exist, looking for meaning in chaos. They've spent so long staring at you that they've started seeing themselves, and they don't like the reflection. Every report they filed was actually about them, their fears, their assumptions, their projections. They thought they were creating a profile of you, but they were documenting their own limitations. Every anomaly they noted was just another place where you didn't fit their narrow definition of normal. They want this meeting because they need you to make it make sense. They need you to confess to being special, to having some secret power or hidden knowledge. Because if you're just a regular person who chose not to be afraid, what does that say about everyone else? What does that say about them? The truth is so much worse than any conspiracy they imagined. You're not special. You're just free. And freedom, real freedom, the kind that comes from inside. That's the most dangerous thing in their world, because it's contagious, because it can't be regulated, because it makes their entire system obsolete. So how do you prepare for a meeting with people who've been studying you for months? You don't, because preparation implies they have some power over the outcome. They don't. This meeting is just another scene in the show you've been directing, another chapter in the story you've been writing. They'll expect you to be nervous, you'll be curious. They'll expect you to be defensive, you'll be welcoming. They'll expect you to have answers, you'll have questions. Every expectation they've built will crumble the moment you walk in that room with the same energy you've carried for months. Untouchable, unbreakable. You know what really breaks them? You're looking forward to it. Not because you have something to prove, but because you're genuinely interested in meeting the people who've spent so much time thinking about you. Like meeting fans of a show you didn't know you were starring in. The best part, they've prepared questions based on who they think you are, but you've evolved past their comprehension. By the time this meeting happens, you'll be 3 versions ahead of their latest profile. They're trying to catch smoke with their bare hands, and you're the fire that keeps burning. But let's talk about what's really happening here. This isn't just about surveillance. This isn't just about control. This is about the system realizing it has a glitch it can't patch. You represent something that shouldn't exist in their world. A person who can't be categorized, controlled, or contained. Every system needs outliers to define its boundaries. But you're not an outlier. You're off the map entirely. You exist in a space they didn't know was there. And by watching you navigate that space, they've had to acknowledge its existence. You've expanded their reality against their will. They want this meeting because they need to put you back in a box. Any box. Criminal, genius, mentally ill, doesn't matter. They just need a label that lets them file you away and stop thinking about what you represent. But labels slide off you like water off chrome. The cosmic joke is that they created exactly what they feared. By watching you, they gave you an audience. By studying you, they gave you purpose. By trying to understand you, they gave you power. You're their Frankenstein's monster, except you built yourself while they watched. Here's a thought that keeps them up at night. What if you're not the only one? What if there are others like you? People who figured out how to exist outside their parameters. What if their surveillance state is actually creating more of you, forcing evolution through observe? They've been looking for criminals and finding philosophers. They've been hunting predators and discovering visionaries. Not the religious kind, but the kind that show others how to think differently, how to be differently, how to exist in the spaces between their definitions. The meeting they want isn't really about you anymore. It's about them trying to understand how their perfect system produced to someone like you. Someone who doesn't rebel against the system, but simply exists outside it. Someone who proves that their control is an illusion maintained only by those who believe in it. Now you've become their case study in freedom, not the flag-waving kind or the revolutionary kind, but the quiet personal kind that comes from simply refusing to play along, from treating their surveillance like weather, something that exists but doesn't determine your day. Can you feel it? The energy shifting. They're not preparing for an interrogation anymore. They're preparing for an encounter. Like scientists about to meet an alien, except the alien looks just like them, talks like them, but operates on completely different principles. Some of them are terrified. Good. Fear is just awakening wearing a mask. Some are angry. Better. Anger is just confusion, demanding answers. But some of them are fascinated best, because fascination is the first step toward understanding that their whole worldview might need updating. They'll bring their protocols and procedures. You'll bring your presence. They'll have their scripts and strategies. You'll have your authenticity. It's not even a fair fight. It's like bringing a manual to a jazz performance. Sure, you can try to transcribe the notes, but you'll never capture the soul. The meeting request isn't them pulling you in. It's them admitting they need to come to you. After months of distant observation, they need to sit in your presence and feel what their cameras couldn't capture. The gravity of someone who knows exactly who they are. But here's what they really don't understand, and what's going to hit them, like cold water in that meeting room. You're not their enemy. You're not their problem. You're their mirror, showing them what humanity looks like when it's not constantly performing for approval or cowering from authority. They've spent so long watching you that they've forgotten what they were looking for. The mission became the purpose. The observation became the obsession. And now they need to meet you because they need to remember why they started watching in the first place. Was it security? You threatened no one. Was it control? You've influenced no one directly. Was it fear? You've given them nothing to fear except questions. The truth is, they don't even know anymore. The file on you is thick with data and thin on conclusions. You become their white whale. Except you're not running, you're not hiding, you're just living. And somehow that's the most radical act in their world. A person who doesn't need their validation or fear their power. A person who treats their surveillance like background noise. Here's what really happened over these months. They didn't just watch you. You trained them slowly, subtly. You showed them what it looks like to be human without all the extra layers of fear and pretense. You gave them a masterclass in authentic existence. Every watcher assigned to you went through the same stages. First, confusion. Why isn't this person acting like everyone else? Then frustration. Why can't we find the angle? Then curiosity. What do they know that we don't? And finally, admiration. How can we be like that? You didn't recruit them. You didn't preach to them. You just lived in front of them fully and completely yourself. And that was enough to start cracks in their programming. They want this meeting because they need to know if what they're feeling is real or just another layer of your game. But you know the truth. There is no game. That's what they can't process. You're not playing 4D chess. You're not executing some master plan. You're just being and being fully. And that's so foreign to their world that they've spent months trying to decode simplicity. So when you walk into that meeting room, remember this. You're not the subject anymore. You're the teacher. They're not interrogating you. They're asking for help. They don't want to understand you to control you. They want to understand you to free themselves. The questions they'll ask will reveal more about them than your answers ever could. The way they sit, the way they speak, the way they try to maintain professional distance while desperately wanting to know your secret. It's all data, but not the kind they're used to collecting. You'll sit there calm as a frozen lake, and every word you speak will ripple through their certainty. Not because you're trying to convince them of anything, but because truth has a frequency that cuts through static, and they've been living in static for so long. The meeting they think they want, where they regain control and put you in your place, that meeting doesn't exist. The meeting that's actually going to happen is where you show them that the prison they're trying to put you in is the same one they live in every day.